So that really sucked. Excuse my language.
We get on. It's like, it's like sometimes casting.
Except for that time he told me to come in quicker, but other than that.
I worked with Keanu 12 years ago.
Well, I didn't work with Keanu. Okay, it was my first time. And I said, "You're not introduce yourself. I know who you are."
I'm happy being a fan and waiting for whatever's coming.
Because every time you messed up, it was like,
Absolute pleasure to speak with you. I love this movie, so thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
If John Wick were writing the script for his own finale, going into Chapter 4, what do you think a happy ending for John Wick looks like?
I guess it would have to be a fantasy film because his wife would be alive.
Yeah.
And they could live happily ever after.
Oh, that's the constant pain of these films, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a line in this film that really stuck out to me, and it was, "Friendship means little when it's convenient." And I thought that was a great line, and I'd love to hear from you. How has something like that echoed to you throughout your career, where you've made a lot of friends and you've worked really hard with a lot of people on a lot of projects?
Yeah.
And, this is another reunion with, Laurence Fishburne and more people you've worked with before.
Yes. What to say about that? I feel very lucky. I feel grateful. The people you've mentioned are incredible artists and people. And the friendships and time that I've had to work with them creatively and then personally has been a really important part of my life.
Yeah. This movie has probably my favorite sequence in all of the John Wick movies, which is the overhead shot where you're going through the rooms, and it's just, I don't want to say too much to spoil the experience, people, but it was incredible. I'd love to hear about what was different for you when the camera's following you from above and you're going through, blasting your way through all these guys.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was pretty high pressure. Yeah, because they were super long takes and there was lots of things to do, like reloads and movement and action, and the cameras were automated, so they had a certain time, so I couldn't see them, but we had to sync up rhythms, and yeah, it was just a pressure cooker, but it was fun.
And it's a long, continuous shot, too.
Yeah.
So does that mean, like, if one little thing goes wrong, you got to start from, like, ground
Yeah,
zero?
they were done in sections, so they were stitched, but the sections themselves were pretty. They were no joke. It wasn't like walk through the door. It was like, they were big.
Now, you're working with some of the best with stunt performers, and you go through some incredible training to bring real.
It's happening in front of your eyes.
It is so cool, but I'd love to. I know you guys are the best of the best, but I know sometimes an accident could still happen. Somebody might really accidentally land one, or one of these things you're throwing at each other might actually go flying.
Yeah.
Has that happened at all in this film? What's the aftermath of that moment like on set?
Well, I mean, everyone's pretty tired, but it's the best kind of tired. It's like you've climbed the mountain and you're resting, or you finished the game and you won. So in terms of accidents, I made a mistake once and I cut a gentleman's head open. But, so that really sucked. Excuse my language. And then, but other than that, well, one guy got hit by a car, was in the car. He had to go to the hospital, but he was okay. Yeah, I mean, all of this to say is some of the stuff that we're doing, you do have to take care. But it's great that everyone is watching out for each other. So there's some bruising and aches and pains, but no humans were harmed in the filming of this motion picture.
We love to hear that. Okay, so I do have to ask, as a comic book fan,
Cool.
I know Constantine was once in development for a sequel. Can you speak at all to whether or not that's still happening?
I was hoping it would, but we don't know.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, we're trying. Cool.
Thank you so much, man. Congratulations, another great film.
Thank you.
Laurence, I love John Wick Chapter 4. It's great to have the Bowery King back. The Bowery King, that man's a performer. When he talks, he wants people's attention and for them to listen. Laurence Fishburne is a performer, award-winning performer. I'd love to hear how the Bowery King allows you to kind of release such a fun bravado into this crazy world of John Wick.
It was pretty easy, man. It was on the page, right? That whole opening thing with, the speech about, I was here before the beginning of time, and the way he gets to set the table. I mean, it allows me to use my voice in a really beautiful way in the tunnel. You get all that reverb and stuff, and the way Chad shot it is really kind of like mysterious and cool. Listen, I love this movie because it's so much fun, and just playing the Bowery King, I just get to have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, man, it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
There's so many themes in the John Wick movies about friendship and loyalty and who you can rely on. There's even a line in this film which I really loved and it stood out to me. It said, "Friendship means little when it's convenient." Yeah, and I mean, I know you and Keanu have such an awesome relationship through the years. I'd love to hear about how that friendship that you've had together through these kind of really unique experiences has helped craft your career, your opportunities, things you learn and experience together.
Well, we just have been, I think, blessed to have been cast in the Matrix pictures together, to work as closely as we did. I mean, Keanu has had an incredible career, as have I. And I think the thing that we have in common is that we are both very much aware of how blessed we are to have had the kind of careers that we've had.
Do you think we'd even be getting movies like John Wick if we didn't get the Matrix movies in the first place?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. You know, I mean, Chad, Keanu, Chad's team, it's all these people are, were a part of the Matrix.
What would you say are some of the biggest things you've learned, whether it's from the Matrix or some of the other big franchises you've been a part of, that prepare you for the kind of sequences you have to put together in movies like John Wick?
Patience. One has to have a lot of patience
Yeah.
to do this kind of work.
Yeah.
Obviously, dedication, discipline, all of those things. But really, it's about patience. Really about having patience.
Speaking of those franchises, if you had to pluck one of your characters from any other world that you've played a character in and put them in the John Wick world, who do you think would be best suited to survive the kind of things that these guys go through?
Who would be best suited to survive this world? Man, maybe the character I played in King of New York. Oh, maybe Jump.
Maybe. Yeah, this John Wick world is tough. I just want to geek out with you for a second, man, because I know you love this, a lot of the same stuff I do. I'm a big
Sure.
geek. I'm at comicbook.com.
Right.
When things are releasing, when there's new... Now, I don't want to ask what franchise you want to be a part of. I'm not trying to
Okay.
set you up for those
Right.
headlines. But what kind of stuff do you look forward to and geek out at? Because the things that you grew up loving,
Yeah.
we get it. We're eating so well. What do you still
know.
geek out about and still hope to see one day?
I'm an MCU guy, man. I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and as much as I would love to be in it, I'm happy being a fan and waiting for whatever's coming.
Yeah, man.
Like I just heard, I was in Atlanta. I heard they're getting ready to do another Captain America.
Yeah, Anthony
Right.
Mackie.
Yes, bring it.
I'm buying tickets. Dude, I can't wait to buy tickets to go see John Wick Chapter 4 again. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for the
too,
time,
man.
man. Hiro Shamira, I loved John Wick Chapter 4, so thank you for taking the time to talk with me about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, now, when you think of John Wick, you think of the incredibly high bar that Keanu Reeves and Chad Stahelski and everybody involved, they set for the action sequences. That's the first thing that comes to mind for me. And the characters are incredible as well. Is it intimidating to join a franchise that there's a lot of people who have been doing this for so long together? Or is it exciting to kind of challenge yourself in new ways to make sure you help meet that bar and raise it with everybody?
Yeah, just excited
Yeah, exciting.
and then happy to be a part of the series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exciting, challenging for sure, but it's not lost on me how beloved this franchise is. However, I think that's why Chad's so great at selecting the cast members that he gets, because I think everybody has a sense of hunger and wanting to elevate and be a part of it and to add their juice and add their sauce and add their magic to this incredible franchise.
Who was the first kind of cast member to welcome you into the family and say, nice, we're happy to have you?
I worked with Keanu 12 years ago, something. So, we're knowing each other a long time, so very easy to jump in. And then I worked with Chad before too, so luckily.
Well, I didn't work with Keanu. Okay, it was my first time, so I didn't have that relationship prior. But I did work with Chad briefly on another film, and he remembered me from that film, which got me this job. And to answer your first question, it was Keanu Reeves that welcomed me to the family. I got to set, and he's the first person to run over to me and shake my hand and introduce himself. And I said, "You want to introduce yourself?" I know who you are. In my head, I said that. But he was very welcoming and very kind. And after that moment of hug, welcome to the team, we just got to work.
Yeah, I love the relationship your character has with John Wick in this film. I'd love to hear your perspective on it. How'd you guys kind of land on the constantly tense, but also like maybe we're looking out?
Yeah. He's like, are you the homie? Are you not the homie?
Yeah, the whole time.
What's going on? I know we're Canadian, but no, that was. It was cool. It was cool. Like it was. I think we have an interesting relationship on screen for sure. But me and him shared a couple laughs off screen. Being Canadians, he's a Canadian. I'm a Canadian from Toronto. It was just great to develop a shorthand, and to work together and have fun. It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, you have one of the most incredible action sequences in the film, a sword fight with Donnie. And I mean, how long did that take from start to finish to capture it? And it plays with no sound, so we're just in it with you, hearing the whole thing. It was awesome. What was that like?
Yeah, we have not much time for shooting, and especially all night shooting outside, and then sometimes it will start raining, wait. So we have to finish in the 3 days or whole 2 nights. But collaboration with Donnie was so easy, and then we put the idea together, and then once we make a choreograph, let's shoot, and then 1 take, 2 takes, done, high five, next. So we could finish in time.
That's
luckily.
Unbelievable. Wow. You've played so many awesome characters in other franchises and different. And I remember, I think my introduction to you was in Lost or maybe Rush Hour. I don't know. I've seen you in so many awesome things. If you could pluck one character out of any other role that you've played, and you think they might do well in the John Wick world, who do you think would be fun to bring back to exist in this world with the spies and the assassins and all this?
Oh, no. Yeah, that's a great question, but difficult question. Maybe, yeah. I want to repeat Koji Shimazu again.
Yeah.
Even the sequel or something.
Maybe one day, hopefully, we'll speak it into existence, manifest. And I have to ask, man, if John Wick 5 rolls around, are you hoping to get back in? Anything you want to see more from Mr. Nobody?
Man, I would love to see Mr. Nobody and his puppy in any derivative of this franchise.
I mean, this is a franchise that kind of all started with dogs, and now it's almost like dogs' revenge stories. How was it to work with a pet on set?
It was incredible. I mean, I got to work with a puppy who was the ultimate scene stealer. You can't do scenes without a dog because they will steal every scene.
You just go in knowing he's the real star.
Major star. Major star.
Listen, guys, it's an absolute pleasure to talk with you both. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lancey and I love John Wick Chapter 4, so thank you for talking with me about it.
Great.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Good.
Listen, there's a line in this film that really stuck out to me, which was, friendship means little when it's convenient. And I think of your two characters when I think of that, because you guys have some history where you kind of have been able to rely on each other in major ways. I'd love to hear from both of you about the relationship and what a phrase like that means and how it kind of reflects on what you guys have been through in the John Wick world.
We worked it early on. I mean, we worked out early on about our sort of backstory, but just to give us some ease about being with each other and playing the parts. And I think that's they know each other very, very, very well. They've been together a long time. I always said they worked together when they were, when he was a kid, when I wasn't a kid, because I'm older than him. And he brought him, into his world, and they've been together ever since. That's professionally.
I said of espionage. I mean,
yeah, MI, CIA, I think you were in Africa back in the day, whatever, and that gives them the basis for what they have now. And they're also, I think if they talk together, when they say, "Who's your favorite assassin?" we'd say John. He's also the nicest guy. So there's a personal built-in interest. And over the years, we've managed to build it up into, and have a lot of fun. Every 2 years, we come together and make a movie, which is lucky as well.
Yeah.
And I really feel there's a part of me that really feels like he owes his life to Winston, and so he will give his life for him. And so when the developments that occur in the fourth installment happen. It gives, our bond is so tight. I mean, because it really is family. That it really gives him the impetus for his journey throughout the fourth installment, which is pretty amazing.
Is that what it's like behind the scenes too? Because you said you do this every 2 years. Is everybody as close? Do you guys really have each other's backs on the long day on set and everything?
Yeah, no, we look. It's like we get on. It's like it's like sometimes casting
Except for that time he told me to come in quicker, but other than that.
Oh?
Yeah, we always know. We have no acting temperature goes on. Very difficult on set.
I don't say it like that. He says that.
I just think that it's just been a great 10 years. Of every 2 years, they come up with another, story, and the story expands. But the world becomes bigger, but the films become more elegant, and they're more beautiful, and they're better. And I just think Chad's done an amazing job. And Keanu's done an amazing job of playing this, amazing character who, kills more people than are born every day.
Really taking that pop.
No, I mean, above all else, it's a very entertaining film.
Oh, absolutely.
They're very entertaining films, and it's nice to be part of something that a lot of people see, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the nice thing, I think.
So it's interesting that in a film when it's become a thing where now you're doing these films and these projects playing the same characters for so many years. It's almost like TV, and you both have experience with TV, but you get to come back to it. But on TV, usually if a cast member goes or a character gets killed off, it's like a big event. Now it's becoming that in movies, where if somebody leaves, it's like they're leaving at the family you guys just talked about. How do you say goodbye to people when a character or an actor is leaving the franchise because the story called for it?
Well, it's very different on TV. They're completely different genres. I mean, in TV, you usually get to talk about it more. I mean, the characters would have gone into in depth if you'd had a TV show, but you're doing a movie, which is 2 hours, however long it is, and these have got longer every time.
Yeah.
But you're telling a story in a different kind of a way. Yeah. So you haven't got time for that. You haven't got time for the sort of, the scenes whereby you explain that. So you try and do that in other ways, which I think is very important. That's the difference between film and, long-running TV shows. But it's been a trip, it's been great.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both so much. Absolute pleasure to speak with you both, and I love the film, so thank you. Chad, I loved Johnwick Chapter 4, so thank you for taking the time to talk about it, man.
Thank you. That's very nice.
Of course. Compared to the first John Wick movie, the lore and the world of the John Wick franchise has expanded so much, and that's still true in John Wick Chapter 4. What were some of the key parts of the world building you really wanted to exemplify this time around?
I guess with anything, I came up with the Wachowski Film School, like Keanu and I through all the Matrix and stuff. They taught us a lot about how to build worlds, and it all starts with like a thematic. What are you trying to say? And it's easy to see the themes in John Wick that we're not trying to push, but they're there. It's brotherhood, it's fellowship, it's consequence, it's fate, it's grief, it's fortitude. It's all these things kind of coming together, and then you kind of work your way outward for there, and you decide, okay, at least for myself, one of the best ways to show who a character is literally by showing. You don't tell, you show. That's why Keanu tries to do as much as he actually can, so you're not, the suspension of disbelief is there. Like, it's Keanu Reeves doing it, so you believe that John Wick can do it. It's not just him telling us he's the greatest swordsman of all time. You're actually seeing Jet Li or Donnie Yen do things that you and I can't do, and you buy into it. So we just took that mentality across. Now, if you take the same thing into character development, I think one of the easiest ways to show that is dilemma, is problems. Like, your choices really reveal your character, not your skill set. So it doesn't matter about what swords or guns you use, it's choices. John Wick has made a lot of bad choices, but in this movie he tries to make one good choice. And we've tried to push that through all the way, so his final choice is a choice of whatever he thinks will lead him to freedom, redemption, fulfillment, whatever you want to term that. And I think in this one, it allowed us to take everything we've built in the last three and kind of explore that and see if we were good enough to tie it all together. So we'll see.
Man, and every choice kind of raised the stakes too in this film. I love that.
Yeah, we'll see.
I talked about the new world building elements. I feel like you also busted out some new technology with this one, specifically in that incredible sequence above the rooms where we're looking down at it. Can you talk about what kind of new tech or filmmaking styles you had to drum up to deliver that?
Sure. I think it was more about taking things that kind of existed and just using them in different ways. There's a little bit of an algorithm to kind of figure it out. Like, when your sound stage has such a ceiling, your lens only lets you see so much. You can only build the set so high off the ground, and because of the cable flying, the 4-point cable system we're using to fly the camera around, it needs a certain degree of height. So we just didn't have the Superdome to do this in. It was a sound stage in Babelsberg Studios in Berlin. And it just took a couple really smart people to figure out how we were going to get the perfect height to see Keanu Reeves do all the stuff, choreograph the stuff, not cut, and get our set piece in the right way.
Dude,
so
good.
It was taking the best that stunts had, this 4-point rigging system that the stunt and the camera guys had, figuring out the the dimensions of the set that Kevin Cavanaugh, my production designer, put together, and working with the stunt team and Keanu to get it all right. Because every time you messed up, it was like,
We got to reset. Oh my gosh.
beginning.
All right, last question for you. I know one of your next projects is a video game adaptation with Ghost of Tsushima. You're bringing a video game to a movie. Do you think John Wick could ever be a movie turned video game?
I think they're in process right now, so you are correct.
Let's go. We'd
They're
love to hear
working
that,
on it
man.
right now, yeah.
Awesome.
So
Well,
I think Lionsgate is in process of making that happen.
That's awesome news. I'm going to be playing it first day.
Cool.
Thank you, dude. Thank you so much for
my
another great.
Oh my gosh.
Good question.
We can have a whole conversation
Yeah,
about
oh,
that.
yeah.
It's getting
Just about that
Would
one.
you give us a minute?